Hello, everyone. This is Carrie, Miss Carrie, to all your teens out there, and welcome to Nita Felting with me and our unicorn. Forgive me as I'm just getting things together. Perfect. Oh, don't want this sound. Hello, everyone. Nope. Thank you guys. All right. So I'm so glad you guys are joining me to craft along today to make a really awesome unicorn with a super cool crafting experience, which is needle felting. So you might have gotten our kit, or you might just be crafting along with me. You might have just gotten some felt that looks like our unicorn, and that sounds great too. Some not felt wool, some wool. That's what I meant. All right, and if you guys got your kit, you should have gotten a little bit of foam, and in the foam is going to be 2 felting needles, our unicorn's eyes, and then our little finger covers, finger protectors, and then of course our colors of wool. So this was my first time needle felting, so I was able to make something that sort of looks like a unicorn. I think it kind of also looks like a unibunny a little, but we're going to try to make it look a bit more horse-like this time around. So one of the things that our instructions don't tell you is how to start. So I can help you out with that. And that would be first starting. It does give you more wool than you need. I would take about maybe a bit less than half the wool, and then you can sort of roll it up and kind of like a sleeping bag, just roll it around and around. And it doesn't have to look perfectly circular yet. If it's sticking out at weird angles, that's fine. We're gonna eventually make it look sort of circular. Mine was more like a little capsule by the end, but I'm gonna aim for a more rounded shape this time. So needle felting needles sometimes can break. So what you want to do to make sure that yours don't break is to make sure you're always stabbing up and down, or poking if we want to use the nicer verb. And so once you guys are ready, you can get yours started. I started a little bit ahead of time, just in the interest of trying to get to at least some pink and yellow first, and just stab anywhere to start. And for needle felting, just remember to be patient. You are taking, very soft, light material and eventually making it into something hard. And I don't know if you can hear that, but it does get quite hard once you get there, and that's how you'll know it's ready. You don't want your wool to still feel soft and be like a cotton ball and kind of be coming apart. You want it to be nice and solid, just with a bit of fuzzies. I let my unicorn have a bit of a mane, but we'll see if my cat agrees with that at the end. Not that I'm giving it to my cat, but she might go after it more that I left a mane on it. But yeah, so just make sure that you're stabbing, poking up and down. I do have comments. I do have my computer here, so if you guys have questions, if you ran into some little hiccups while you were crafting, maybe you started early, go ahead and drop them on to our comments here, and I will hopefully be able to see them. And I did get a request today, which was for a Zoom class for our crafting with teens. So if you guys are interested in that, maybe drop another comment too. And if more people are interested, I think that would be super fun. We definitely miss you guys through this all. We've missed a lot of people, and it's so happy to be open again. We're all glad to be back. So while you are getting started, make sure that you're rotating so that no part of your unicorn is going to be, softer or harder than the other. And that probably will help you create the rounder effect than the cylinder I got. And these leather pieces do definitely help for protecting your fingers, but you can stab through them. So make sure you're not going too close to your fingers. Try to be your fingers' friends and not stab them. And just remember to keep rotating as you go. The needle felting can be a lot of fun. It can sort of get out any aggression you sort of have. It's a good aggression craft because you can just poke the whole time. But it's really good not to be too distracted when you're doing it. Some crafts you can watch TV with. This one might not be the best one to watch with. Just make sure you're focused in. Obviously, you're watching me as well, but we'll just make sure you're mostly looking down, watching out for your fingers while we're going. And soon enough, we'll get to a point where we can start the heart part of our needle craft. And that can get to be a bit more exciting. I did start a little ahead so we could get there sooner. But make sure you're turning your needle felt unicorn or whatever you'd like it to be. That's what's fun about needle felting. If you're not doing it with a kit, is it can be open to a lot of interpretations. So if it starts to look a little different than what you necessarily thought it was going to be at the start, it's a very flexible craft. So you can change it as you go. But I was really excited to try this craft. So back when we finally got the okay to do kits, back when quarantine was starting, I was like, we gotta do a needle felted one. And I really like it as well. It's a good craft to do on a rainy day. And what you just got to remember is to be patient, since you are taking what's soft and making it hard. But yes, if you guys have any questions, or if you had a more difficult part, if you started your unicorn, go ahead and drop any questions in the chat. Or if you've never needle felted before, I can do my best to try and answer them based off of my 1, now 2 experiences. I'm gonna try to remember not to block the camera so you guys can see well. I don't know if you guys watch Simply Nail Logical on YouTube at all, but she has, when you do your nails, she has a phrase that says dab, dab, dab to make your nails fab. This one sort of stab, stab, stab to make your project fab. So it's definitely, this one wasn't a too boy-friendly kit. Well, boys can like unicorns for sure, but definitely would also be a good kit for guys, good craft to do for guys as well. Maybe we'll get some like dragon one and try this in summer. But let us know if you enjoyed this kit. Go ahead and drop a comment. Or if there are adults watching who have done this before, let us know. But make sure you're always turning your project to try and get a smoother and more consistent finish. This would also be a great ASMR project, I think, if you guys are into making those. Because I don't know if you can hear it on my video, but there's sort of a crunching that goes along with it. And you definitely do get in the groove. And you can go faster as you start to get more confident with the needle. This would be a great craft, if not to watch something on TV with, but maybe to listen to music to, listen to an audiobook. That would be a great thing to do. And there are tons of needle felting tutorials on YouTube you can look up as well that teach you to do all different kinds of crafts. We're getting there, guys. I promise. Oof. It does, probably for the teens, your hands probably aren't going to get as tired as mine. You guys have younger arms. But yeah, it's good workup. You can see it's hardened up definitely, but it's getting kind of that square shape. If you've been holding it tightly in one position, make sure to switch it up. And if you've started to get it to be kind of up and down, or how do I say, starting to look more like a capsule, make sure you go from kind of the top to the bottom, and that can help. And it's kind of crazy how much the felt will shrink. So don't worry if it starts to look a lot smaller than what you want your unicorn body to be. Your instructions do give you a guide to follow. And if you want to add more wool on, just wrap it around. I might do kind of a smaller unicorn in the interest of time so we can start getting to the heart. And you guys might be sort of interested in how is the needle doing this. If I have Facebook watchers out here who haven't needle felted before, there are grooves at the base of the needle where the felt gets stuck and it sort of probably weaves into each other. And wool, there's specific kind of wool that has to be for felting. So you can't just go and buy whatever wool they sell at the store. There are particular places you have to do. And often it wasn't the case in this kit, probably for the interests of being, of having the white be for both the base and for its arms and legs and appendages, all that. But there is also coring wool. and that's for kind of the base of your project. So that's what you would kind of use as if you're making a dragon, that's the dragon's body. Well, the details is a whole different kind of wool. And I'm not really sure why or how that wool is. But at least that's what I've learned in my research so far. Make sure you can kind of squeeze your project as you go and kind of feel where the weaker parts are is where it's softer. So you can kind of focus on that point and get it to be a little more connected there. And I think we're almost to the point where I can finally get to the heart. It's just going to be kind of a different shape than what you're going for in your unicorn. But thankfully, the kit came with very nice and detailed instructions, except for how to start. And for those of you just joining, if you have this kit or if you want a needle felt to start your project, you can just wrap your felt sort of around, sort of like you're rolling up a sleeping bag. And then just start from there, like I sort of have this. Then you can sort of start stabbing that. And that's how you can begin your project. And it does take time to get it into a nice hard core, but patience is a virtue. And it's definitely worth it by the end because it is very cute. And if you start to see kind of where you wrapped your felt, there's kind of where you see these rolls. If you want to mask that a bit more, just kind of stab down straight into it, and that can mask it a little. It makes it a little more connected throughout. But you can already tell mine little square, if that's what this is turning out to be, getting smaller and smaller. But yes, if you start to feel yours is kind of a square and how to remedy that, you can just go along kind of this corner edge and poke down that line. But I promise the hardest part of this project is kind of getting your base together. The rest of the unicorn is a lot easier since it's much smaller, that much smaller pieces you have to do. And some of you might be asking, like, how far do I have to poke the needle every time? Do I have to get it to where the needle has to thicken each time? Not really when you get into the details, you don't have to, but so you don't have to like plunge it in every time. But definitely for the core, it is good to kind of stick more into it, just to make sure it's all connecting. And if you guys aren't going as fast as me, that's fine. Don't worry, you definitely don't have to work at the pace I am. I'm just trying to get it to the point where I can show you guys a bit more of the process. And if you watching have any ideas of crafts you'd like to see us do as kits, or any programs you'd like to see us do in general, let us know. You know, it's been about a year now since we first went to quarantine, so we're starting to run out of ideas, and we'd always love teen input. Okay, let's see. I'm just gonna try to get this a bit more even on top. And then we can go in. So as you can tell now, really when you pull at it, not too much fuzz is coming off. And so we're going to move on to the heart. And mine isn't going to look like yours. You're going to try to achieve the circle. But in the interest of time, I am going to go ahead and show you just how you would add detail to it. So you can get off just a little bit of pink, and it doesn't have to be a full strip like we started with. For our white, it can be just a bit. Make sure you always wear your finger guards so you don't stab your fingers. And the little picture on our instructions is proper size, so you can always look back there, and you can look at our step-by-step guide within our instructions. But it tells you to always start from the outside when adding details. So it's a little hard to do that, I found, since you have all this fuzz around you. So I try to kind of roll it up, but it sort of bounces out. But then just sort of pick where to start the project and just sort of go in. And I sort of tried to start on one side of the heart and go from there. And what's good is if you mess up, you can just kind of go over. You can wrap white over this if you don't like how it turns out. So you can start just stabbing the pink in and kind of make that half heart shape. And it says to always go from the outside first. And as you start getting the long parts of your felt down, you can start seeing more of what's going on. So once you get a nice circle, sort of, then you can go from there. And I found you can sort of twist the felt in kind of like a swirl motion and then stab. That can kind of force it down a little so it's easier to manage. You can kind of poke right along where you want the outside, and that can start getting the more the outline of the heart to take kind of more direct shape. Starting to see it kind of, and after you I think I just trailed off on a sentence there, but yes. And it was kind of harder to get the point of the heart. And how I handled that was, again, kind of my twist method. Once you get to kind of this point, you can sort of grab some of this already pushed down pink and kind of stab it right where you want your point. And that kind of can make the hard line there. And kind of the same up top to create that more pointed top part of the heart. Just kind of pull a bit extra white if you have it from maybe where you started and kind of stick it down into the pink, and that can help. And then once you have your outline of the heart, you can kind of go crazy within it and push. But I think it's kind of easiest to start with half heart and then fine tune it from there, then fill in the rest of the heart. Thankfully, they do give you a lot more pink and yellow felt than you need. So if you guys have any questions, if you're finding it harder to make the heart, go ahead and drop any questions below in our comment section. Oof. And then at the end of your project, you can kind of trim your project with some scissors, and that sort of gets the spare flurries out of the way. So here's sort of my half heart. This was where my point was. And then this is sort of the top. Now you can break off another small bit of pink, kind of bring that in. I found that the pink they used for the cover art might be maybe lighter than what they had in their kit. So if yours isn't that kind of pastel pink, don't worry. It's not that you're not using, it's not that you're using too much or too little. I think it's just a different color. Okay, so now we can sort of get that in. Now we're going to go for the other half of our heart. And just to try to make it match up, just remember to use your other side as a guide. And not get too lost. And by what I mean by how your needle could break is if you're going from the side or trying to stab it from down here. Make sure you're going straight down first. And make sure, even with this side of the heart, you are trying to do the outside just so you can have a little guide. And then once it starts looking like it's going to match up, you can push it on in. really go ham with it. My thing's getting smaller and smaller, so I'm gonna break my own rule and do away with my guards, but don't do that. Do as I say, not what I do. I'm sure you've heard that from your parents before. And if you kind of want your heart to be maybe smaller than it's looking, you can sort of pull from the side and press in, and that makes it a little smaller, or at least gets the bulk a little more pulled in towards the heart. So a lot of the kind of bulking up as you felt it down is going to be more in the center. And you can sort of do that if you're still struggling to get a point. You can sort of pull on the bottom part and just stick it down there. So to do the same with some white up here and just pull it down. And that can help give some more outline to the shape. So mine's still a little body, but I'll show you how to do a little ear as well, since you guys might still be working on yours. Or I guess I'll show you how to do the horn, because it did not really say how to get it to be wider at one end or versus the bottom. No, wider at the bottom versus at the top. And so how I did mine, I just sort of did a line of felt by wrapping it, not felt, wool. You'd think they call it needle wooling instead, but who knows how things get named. So I just start with a nice little line, and you would felt that down. And then I would wrap more after you get a nice hard line of it down, and I would just wrap more around the bottom as you go. So let's see. And it is a lot more quicker once you get down to the small bits. I can probably get it going. I did try originally with my horn to kind of like do a triangle, sort of like if you were felting a triangle just down. But if you keep twisting as you go, it just wouldn't stay. So it worked best for me to just add on more once I got an even line of yellow. And what's great about the rest of the parts of pink is they're a lot smaller than the heart. So once you get your heart done, that's kind of the big detail. So you're good for the rest. As for the mane, how I did the loose parts of the mane, I just had my free felt at the back, and then I trimmed it once I was done. Make sure you leave enough room for your tail. I sort of didn't, and that's why mine's sloping to the back. But hopefully all of yours is going well. I haven't seen any questions, so I think we are going to probably wrap up unless anyone else chimes off in the comments anytime soon. But once you get a kind of a good base on your horn, and kind of once you get the horn, if you're having trouble gripping it, you can always make sure you keep your needle away from your hands if you're going to take off your guards. But after you get the horn done, then you can always just wrap more on just the same way you started. All right, guys, I know that was a longer one. So thank you all so much, especially those of you who stayed with me for a good portion of it. But I'm not seeing any comments jump up or anyone requesting to stay longer. So we're gonna wrap up. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys really enjoyed this kit and have a lot of great fun felting, and I hope you discovered a fun craft too. Thanks. Bye.